The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is August 14th, 2019, episode 152, and this week, LOCUST Rise and California Crackdown. My name's Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about prophetic news with Canary Cry views.
That's right, Gonz, and it is a late one today, huh?
It's later than it should be.
We're starting later than we've ever started before, folks, but we're just, we're doing it for you and we're getting it done.
Well, technically, it's very early if you want to be accurate.
Okay. All right. Is this how this show's going to go?
It is. I'm grumpy. This is Grumpy Gonz, this episode.
Yes. And obviously, we had a lot of news about the Epstein case. And I mean, that almost doesn't even require covering. Of course, people are covering all sorts of stuff about Epstein's alleged suicide, which, you know what makes me really happy, Gonz?
What's that?
The one thing that's really in these tumultuous times of division and wars and rumors of wars, the one thing that gives me a little bit of hope.
What's that? I thought you already set it up. What?
I'm going to see how many times I can get you to say what's that. But what it is that every single human on this planet does not believe the official Epstein story.
Yeah, even the fake news people are like skeptical of the skepticism, and it's just wow, it's crazy. Huh?
I told you earlier this week when we were just texting some stuff back and forth, and when we heard the news, I was with a group of normies. We all have those normies that we love, who are just they're. I think maybe a more polite term for them would be official story types.
Sure. Yeah, the believers of the mainstream.
The official story types. And when I heard about the Epstein thing, I couldn't help myself. I audibly laughed and said out loud, yeah, right. And everybody was on board. Nobody believed it. And so it really gave me some hope for what we're going through in this world today.
Yeah, well, I told you that my initial gut feeling was that there's no way he's dead, but who knows? Yeah,
I'm leaning towards the extraction theory right now.
Yeah,
just from the evidence that's out. But we're not talking about that today. You can hear about that anywhere, especially on Face Like the Sun YouTube channel.
Really?
Did you throw something up about this?
No.
Oh, well. You can't hear it there then.
Well, there's other people talking about it. The nose is different. The ears are different. It's not him. They blueprinted it in the show Stranger Things.
Everybody's talking about it. We're not necessarily going to break any story.
Yeah.
But Gonz, what story we are here to break?
We're going to stick to what we know.
Stick to the script.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right, everybody. We got something from Cheddar.com here. We're getting an update on FLIPPY. Yes, that's the robot friends who are taking over our jobs and making just life a little bit easier. And now, FLIPPY's making life easier for, stoners. We got Greenbox Robotics CBD-Dispensing robot makes its New York City debut. Now I know what everybody's thinking. Basil, CBD is not for stoners. CBD is for legitimate health concerns.
For
used
dogs.
Also for dogs, yes. Your pets can use CBD. I'm pretty sure everybody's mom at this point uses CBD. But here we go. CBD dispensing robots have arrived in New York City with the debut of Greenbox Robotics' artificial intelligence powered robots at CBD and wellness shop. I like the name of this shop. It's called Come Back Daily. That's just really puts it out there.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow. Founder Zach Johnson hopes his AI robots will not only boost business and speed up sales at retail shops and dispensaries, but also educate customers about hemp compound CBD. Quote, the customers will walk up to our fully integrated touchscreen, Johnson explains. When they click on the actual product, they'll get as much information as the manufacturer of that product provides. Blah, blah, blah. They talk a lot about how this robot would just love to sling you some weed, man. And also it's going to be used to collect a lot of data so they can figure out the trends and get kind of locked in with the big data establishment there and figure out how to sell the good stuff, that good green.
Well, it's funny because
CBD.
If anybody has anxiety about robots, this is the way to really just bring it in. It's like, hey, relax.
Yeah,
take some of this.
I like your take on that. Yeah, this is for us to get used to accepting medication from robots.
Yeah, pretty much.
Boom, eat your pills, organoid.
I'm for the robots.
Yeah, that's right. So there you go, folks. You can get... You can pick up your grandma's CBD from a robot with artificial intelligence. I think that's all I had about that.
Making
Thanks, Flippy.
progress. Yeah, Flippy getting to the next level every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of biblical.
Oh, yes.
It is biblical.
Do you want to take this one or am I taking this one?
I don't know.
I'll do this one.
You
We
do it?
didn't
Okay.
decide before the show. We forgot this one piece of show prep, which was who does what.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But I'll do this one because you got some good stuff coming up. This is on newatlas.com. DARPA drones surround Mock City Hall as a part of autonomous swarming demonstration. Small unmanned aircraft are already more than bit part players in military operations. There's a little bit of showbiz talk there. And when they're able to work together, they could bring even more to the table. One of the many research groups investigating such possibilities is the team behind DARPA's Offensive Swarm-Enabled Tactics, that's OFFSET program, whose latest demonstration illustrates how fleets of unmanned aircraft can be used to secure important buildings in urban environments. Various research groups are working on technologies that allow drones to collaborate on certain tasks, whether that be autonomously constructing a rope bridge, putting on dazzling light shows at Disney World, or covering walls in graffiti. When it comes to military operations, researchers hope to expand on the surveillance abilities of singular drones by having them share intel with one another in the air and with human operators on the ground. The U.S. Navy's LOCUST program is pursuing similar objectives.
It's got to be biblical.
That's right. I mean, do we just need to call it there and just go into it? Let me finish this one. The OFFSET program's latest demonstration is actually the second of 6 planned exercises and saw a swarm of drones attempt to secure a building within an urban environment. The team likens this to the way firefighters set up a perimeter around a burning building. The exercise took place at DARPA training facility in Georgia, arranged to resemble an urban area of around 2 city blocks. Tasks for the flying robots include isolating a mock city hall building and then securing the area, hovering in proximity and keeping watch over the streets, with flights lasting up to 30 minutes apiece. Eventually, DARPA hopes to develop collaborative autonomous systems that can relay important information to the ground units operating in confined urban areas where they mightn't have any idea what's around the next corner. The agency says these swarms could include over 250 drones and plans to conduct demonstrations every 6 months in pursuit of its aims. Now, they play a video to demonstrate the demonstration. And basically what they're able to do with this fleet of drones is within a matter of seconds, launch the drones and create a grid, in this case, that's around 2 city blocks, of 100% surveillance of the area. And they instantly sort of create a 3D map of the area that whoever's on the ground can use, as well as have security surveillance video of literally 100% of this area, which is pretty spooky. And, for Bible folks, the fact that the U.S. Navy has a similar program called LOCUST, I think might hearken to some very particular passages that might interest folks who listen to this show.
Yeah, I mean, people are familiar with the locust in various parts of Scripture, but Revelation 9, the most, apropos passage alluding to the locust, and that's where it talks about the opening of the bottomless pit, and the smoke comes up. And verse 3, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. So, it's biblical, but also this is more proof, Basil, that...
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
We don't play that jingle enough.
I know,
love that
it's gonna appear more as the stories just align with, the whole locust program is actually kind of old news. It's from like 2014 or 2015. We may have covered it at some point.
I think we've talked about it in the past.
Yeah, so there's nothing new there, but I mean, it's brought back up with these drones, the swarm of drones. But you were talking about the footage, and it's a little bit eerie. Like if I saw that, if I was just walking around town and a swarm of drones flew over, I'd be a little uneasy.
It certainly happens, man. And yeah, I mean, remember everybody, all the links to the stories that we cover and much more are available on canarycrynewstalk.com. We actually have a nice aggregate of not just all the stories that we cover on the show, but also a bunch more that didn't quite make it on the show. We don't say that very often, but I would recommend people head over to canarycrynewstalk.com. You can listen to the show there, as well as get a bunch of links to stuff that we cover or we don't, but it's all very interesting. So make sure to do that. That's canarycrynewstalk.com. But I would recommend you check out this video just to see exactly how intense this is with these drones. I think I mentioned all the big points. They 100% surveillance of the area, and they kind of create a 3D model. So a user on the ground can kind of get a perfect idea of what the neighborhood looks like, as well as having, live streaming surveillance of the area. And, we talk about all these active shooter situations that we are experiencing every so often. And it could very well be that now, in response to something like that, or really any event that they just want to know what's going on, you'll see about 200 drones flying overhead. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you hear a helicopter fly by, and you just kind of know, like, oh, something's going on. Especially if it's like a police helicopter, or like maybe it's a hospital helicopter. You just get the feeling of like, oh man, something big is happening. At least maybe that was me when I was a kid. But now, instead of a helicopter, it's going to be 200 drones with their weird high-pitched noises. It's going to be terrifying. Okay. Did I lose you, Gons? I may have lost him to a baby. So I'm just going to keep on going here. So up next, we have a story. California is going. California is an interesting place. Obviously, there's California's ongoing reputation as being a bastion of liberal ideals, as well as, depending on the information you're looking at, the steps towards something like a beast system. Of course, with Hollywood and the influence from Southern California pretty much over the whole earth. But California, as we reported in the past, has been making some interesting choices as far as legislation regarding new technology coming out. And we've talked about this. We've talked about a few of these in the past, but one of the more interesting ones happening now, and more apropos, considering some of the stories we've covered in the past weeks, is CRISPR and regulation of genetic alterations. Now, we've talked about the ability of getting home CRISPR sets where people can just get CRISPR tools and just start messing around with them in their garage or whatnot. But California apparently is not super into that idea.
All right, I'm back.
There he is.
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
just setting up your California CRISPR articles.
Awesome.
Yeah.
CRISPR. Cas9.
All right, so this is Scientific American. Did you give him the headline yet?
No, sir. I just covered like a champ.
Nice. Scientists call for do-over for rules on creating CRISPR babies. A do-over, Basil.
Do-over.
I just wanted to call a do-over. What are we in, 3rd grade here?
Yeah.
All right. So the beginning of the article talks about He Jiankui, the guy who just is in every episode of Canary Cry News Talk for some reason.
He's our favorite recently.
And ever since he produced the CRISPR babies last year, he's been kind of the talk of the town. So I'm going to skip all that stuff and get into the main meat of the article here. So it says here, on Tuesday, the International Commission on the Clinical Use of Human Germline Genome Editing will start the do-over, holding its first public meeting to discuss what the organizers, the academies, and the UK Royal Society hope will be a more detailed, less ambiguous report on embryo editing. Also called germline editing, the technique alters the DNA of embryos in a way that any future offspring would inherit. Quote, "We can't leave things as they were in 2017, said Dr. Victor Dzau, president of the National Academy of Medicine. There are still outstanding questions about what should and should not be done. There needs to be a lot more clarity about the circumstances under which embryo editing would be acceptable. The authors of the 2017 report didn't intend it to be ambiguous, but it did not say that embryo editing should be forever off the table. Instead, it concluded germline editing, quote, might be permitted, but only after much more research and for compelling reasons and under strict oversight. This time around, Zhao said, we have to be clearer." Mm-hmm. So there you go. They're really, trying to make sure that things are better this time around. And then it says later in the article, the new commission aims to develop a framework that national governments and others could use when establishing regulations for embryo editing or prohibiting it. The technique is currently banned in the US, much of Europe, Japan, Canada, and Australia, though some countries' restrictions are ambiguous. Many haven't addressed the issue at all. Chinese authorities concluded after an investigation that his experiment violated its laws, and he was fired from his position at Southern University of Science and Technology in Shenzhen. Quote, "I don't think you can make the door to embryo editing impossible for a rogue scientist to walk through," MIT's Hines said. He continues, quote, "but you can make it harder. One way to do so would be to explicitly endorse a moratorium, something the 2017 committee was afraid would put this off limits forever since moratoriums tend to get stuck and never lifted," Terry said. As it happens, a Russian scientist recently declared his intention for CRISPR babies.
Classic.
The Russians.
The Russians.
And with the New York fertility doctor, he discussed offering embryo editing to couples. Science recently reported, "I hope," said Lovell Badge, is another person here, "that we can do something before crazy people set up an embryo editing clinic and try to make a buck." Yeah, that's the main concern. People making a buck off of these unregulated gene editing. No, not the Nephilim that they're creating.
Yeah, or the super soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, so they're going to go back and try to get more clear rules, huh?
Do-over.
Do-over.
I mean, well, at least it's not too late.
Yeah, I mean, at least we'll have a little bit more information. I could see it from their perspective where just saying, no, you can't do it until there's more research and a really, really good reason. Well, it's like, okay, what is the threshold of that research that needs to be done, and what counts as a really, really good reason? Because
the he guy,
we want to find those things.
well, yeah, and the he guy is saying, the Chinese guy who made the CRISPR babies, he's like, hey, I eradicated HIV in the future generations. How's that bad? Isn't that good enough?
He is saying that, but also a lot of people are saying that his babies are probably going to die very soon.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
There's some sad parts of that. But he still holds that he did a good job. But we'll see. I haven't heard much about the CRISPR babies recently. Have you?
Yeah. No, I haven't. No. They
Nothing's
need
coming out. We got to find those CRISPR babies.
Well, the commies, they got the lockdown on the news over there, so it's hard to figure out exactly what's going on.
Those crispy babies.
CRISPR commies. Oh, no.
CRISPR commies. Oh, boy.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
Now, while I was covering for you, I was teasing something about California.
Right.
Does that have to do with California, or is something else have to do with California?
Yep.
Okay, just checking.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to lead people astray here. I got a little update for you as far as California goes and CRISPR.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, futurism.com. Dun, 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 dun. Futurism.com if you want to get science news in the shortest possible content format. Futurism.com. Love it. New law requires not for humans label added to DIY CRISPR kits. In 2017, biohacker Josiah Zaynor famously injected himself with CRISPR gene editing tech, a move he later admitted to regretting. We did report on that injection. We did not report on the regret. So that's nice to know.
Update.
Now, yes, there's your Zaynor update. He regrets it. Now, to prevent any of Zaynor's fellow Californians from following in his footsteps, Governor Gavin Newsom recently signed a bill. State Senator Ling Chang is calling the first U.S. law to directly regulate CRISPR tech. Chang authored the legislation, which will go into effect in January, and it prohibits companies from selling at-home CRISPR kits unless the kits explicitly warn buyers not to use the tech on themselves.
It's like labeling like a knife, a kitchen knife, labeling it "Do not stab with this."
Do not stab.
Do not stab people. Yeah. Labels do things, Basil.
Here's your new blender. Do not blend self.
Labels really do things. At
It's
least for legal liabilities,
it's a
right?
step in the right direction. And this is California. They need to be told what to do and what to think.
Yes.
Boom. Roasted, California.
Is that a roast for my peoples?
Yes, that was a California.
Yeah, I walk around California
roast.
every day, and that's well deserved. So I'm not going to really try to defend my peers out here.
But no kits for editing human DNA currently exist. That's
What?
prompted
What?
Zaynor.
What?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
it
we're
was-
making a law for something that doesn't exist.
That's confusing.
Yeah. That's prompted Zaynor, who is already under investigation in California for practicing medicine without a license, an investigation he claimed is directly linked to his genetic self-experimentation, to decry the passage of the CRISPR law as a personal attack. It's obviously targeting me, he told the MIT Technology Review, and that belief isn't entirely unfounded.
Oh, futurism.
When asked to provide examples of products the new bill would affect, Chang provided a link to a gene editing kit Zaynor's company, The Odin, sells. I believe we reported on the Odin before, but that kit is designed to facilitate edits in bacteria and not humans. Quote, it's like saying a skateboard needs to have a sticker to say it can't be used on the freeway, end quote, Zaynor told the MIT Tech Review. It doesn't make any sense. True dat, Zaynor. Additionally, federal law already prohibits anyone in the U.S. from selling do-it-yourself gene therapy products, so if Zaynor was selling such kits, they'd already be illegal with or without a warning label. Still, just because the kits sold by Zaynor aren't designed for human gene editing wouldn't preclude people from attempting to use them that way. And that's the future Chang hopes to avoid with the new CRISPR law. Quote, the technology is moving faster than the regulations. That's a statement that I think has always universally been true.
Yeah.
Technology moves faster than regulation. That's sort of the whole point. You can't regulate something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the technology is moving faster than regulation. Thank you, Lily Chang. So it's important to be proactive about preventing safety mishaps by amateur users of CRISPR kits. she said in a statement following the bill's passage. Quote, while I'm a huge proponent of supporting scientific curiosity and imagination, I'm very concerned about the amateur use of this technology and its impact on consumer and public safety. You know, I don't know why Zaner cares so much about this label being put on his products. It's like, how much do you think the tobacco companies cared that much in the end that warning labels are on cigarettes? I think ultimately it doesn't make a huge impact on their bottom line.
No, but what he needs to do is start pitching this idea, this worldview that humans are bacteria on this Earth thing we live on.
Oh, I think you've cracked the code.
Yeah, that's how he does it.
We gotta call Zaner.
Yeah, got an idea for you, buddy.
But it's so funny. It's like
it's a little bit.
What's a warning label gonna do? What?
I mean,
has a warning label ever kept you from doing something stupid, Gons?
No, but I don't read the box at all, so I don't even read it for like the positive. You know,
you don't even read the instructions.
No.
You
like
just
I gotta
go
figure
straight to figure it out.
Yeah, I've got issues. I had issues with waffles once. You know, because I didn't read the thing, like how to make them.
What'd you do to the waffles?
I don't remember. Something bad and embarrassing.
I don't like
talking about me in the kitchen.
Something up pretty bad recently. I feel like I have, but maybe that's just a constant theme.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like microwave things, and you leave the wrapper on, that kind of stuff. You know,
I was very proud of something the other day. There was I'm trying to recharge the air conditioning on my car.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened up the hood of that sucker. I had the little recharge can you can get from Walmart. I opened up the hood of that sucker and had no idea where the air conditioning was. There was a couple little spots, and I thought, I mean, that looks like it. I could just blast this stuff into that little tube. But I stopped myself.
That's
just
good.
in case.
In case, yeah.
I thought, I have a buddy who knows what he's doing with this stuff. I'm just going to let him do it.
Good call.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's move on. We got one more quick story here.
Okay.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
This is LA Times, a lot of California today.
Yeah.
Facial recognition software mistook 1 in 5 California lawmakers for criminals, says ACLU. Sacramento, California Assemblyman Phil Ting has never been arrested, but he was recently mistaken for a criminal. He's not surprised. Ting, the Democrat in San Francisco who authored a bill to ban facial recognition software from being used on police body cameras, was one of the 26 California legislators who was incorrectly matched with a mugshot in a recent test of a common face scanning program by the American Civil Liberties Union.
Yep.
About 1 in 5 legislators were erroneously matched to a person who had been arrested when the ACLU used the software to screen their pictures against a database of 25,000 publicly available booking photos. Last year, in a similar experiment done with photos of members of Congress, the software erroneously matched 28 federal legislators with mugshots. So obviously, this technology, no good, but, it's always kind of nice when the AI tells the truth, And even though it's mismatching,
picked out the crooks.
Yeah, it's identifying the criminals amongst our legislative leaders there. So good job, AI. Facial recognition. That's why they want to ban it, because the truth will come out, and they don't want people to know.
Well, this is an interesting example of a clock is always right twice a day. California has been ahead of the curve in banning use of facial recognition within law enforcement, and that's great. Also, one real quick note before we end here, will be a couple seconds after overtime here, but there's a picture of Franklin E. Bigelow, committee vice chair, something assemblyman for California, and he looks like a real cool dude.
He's the only person out of all of these people wearing a cowboy hat.
He wears a cowboy hat, and he's got a big old mustache. California. Bigelow. Okay, thank you,
all right,
Mr. Bigelow.
Senator Bigelow.
Okay, Gons. Is that it for the day?
That's it. That's
it for the day and the night. We will continue right now recording our Canary Cry News Talk extended report. That is a whole nother episode of Canary Cry News Talk. every single week, and you can gain access to that by going to patreon.com/CCNT and signing up to support the show. We do not take sponsors. We are entirely funded by our listeners, and that is why we can do whatever we want. Nobody pulling the strings behind the scenes here. So if you want the show to keep going and you want to support the show, feel it in your heart to give into what we're doing here, you can head to patreon.com/CCNT. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And you can keep the show going and get an extra show every week. Now, if you got friends who are still out there watching the mainstream media and thinks that that's all they need to know, you got to grab them by the face and shake it.
I tried to tell you, but nobody wanted to listen.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
Hey, stop that!
You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy.
Leave the bird alone!
Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
That's right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until you do, think outside the cage.